Good afternoon and a huge warm welcome to Carnation Crafts. We're live in the Carnation Crafts studio. Lovely to have you back. I hope you joined us this morning. It's been a crazy couple of days. It has just sold like Billy-O. We knew it was going to be popular. You guys know what you're doing. This is... well, it's versatility, isn't it? In a box. It is incredible. 240901 is your Botanical Bliss collection. It's a combined price of £130.95, but we're going to give you it for £99.99 today. And you're going to get free UK P&P on it. What is it? Well, it's all about creating those botanical feels. You've got a stunning greenhouse. And it's really clever, it's engineered, you can get layered cards from this really easily, and then it also comes with a presentation box. That's just the main die. After that, you've also got your Flourishing Well, which is loads of different botanicals for you, florals to use in your collection there. Then you've also got your gardening essentials. Remember, these come in for all the different card makings you do. So it's not just about collections with Carnation. It's one collection and then a load of additions. These are your additions. You've got your watering can, your composter. You've got your gorgeous planters there, your compost bags, your wheelbarrow. You've got your little mice friends pottering about, and you've also got your neighbourhood watch geese. We're going to take a closer look at those on boards, and we'll also be looking at that extra hanging archway card shape which has just flown. There's not a great deal of that left. So you do, if you do want to get on top of that, it's 240907. Your hanging archway card shape die set, $49.99, $2.95 UK P&P. Remember, Carnation's final deadline for posting on a day is 2 p.m. So if you get your order in now, you will get that delivered hopefully tomorrow, depending on your postal service, but they will have it out first class to you, and hopefully you'll have it in your paws. Some of you will have it already from yesterday, and some of you might have received it in the last hour. I know loads of you were waiting for it very patiently, might I add. How many have you run up to your postman at the door and grabbed it out of his hand? Right, let's have a look at this collection. We've got your beautiful, beautiful botanical sanctuary here. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. It's a showstopper, isn't it? You know, just looking at that piece, you're immediately stopped in your tracks by it. It's beautiful. That gorgeous greenhouse, you've got your geometric shapes with those gorgeous curves going around on the window as well. So it's got this really fabulous design to it. You've got your areas for stamping here. You've got your belly band, which hold the layer cards together. This is engineered. Score lines through the side panel window so that you can concertina fold it and add another one behind it, then another one behind that, another one behind that. You can really build those layers. Belly band to hold it all together so that you can put it into the presentation box. What do we mean by that? For those of you just joining us, you missed us yesterday. Where have you been? Where have you been? What does the presentation box look like? Let me find one with a card inside. Well, actually, I'll show you this one because this is a really good example of how to make the presentation box a card. Look at that. Absolutely glorious, isn't it? Layered cards, okay? Dimension, building it up, creating perfection, okay? That's just that die set. It's such an extraordinary collection from Carnation, this launch. Now, we only have one launch a month now, and so obviously you guys get very excited, so do I. It's just waiting for it to come out, and here it is. So that's your main card shape, that's your botanical sanctuary, and we jump from there to your gorgeous neighbourhood watch. These are your little geese, they're very busy. Very, very busy little people. And you've got the curious little birds here. Remember, we've got double sizing. Why? Why do we have the bigger one and the smaller one? Well, to create families, to create stories, but also for perspective. Because if you've got this chap standing forward and this chap just slightly raised behind him, you create that perspective line, that visual point where it says one's in the distance and one's near the front of the card. Perspective is key when we're talking about card making. What we don't want to have are, you know, kind of demon animals that are bigger than, say, the buildings that they're in. That's not going to work for us. We need a value of perspective, and that's what Carnation give us every time. The most gorgeous little bow tie that sits amongst their neck, making him very, very handsome and very, very dapper. You've got your pottering about here, which are your two little mice. Carnation symbolism, isn't it? It's key. The little carnation mice. I know some of you collect the mice. Here's two more to add to your collection. You've got her with her little hose pipe. She's watering that garden. She's very, very busy. And then you've got this chap who's just ready for action. And he is built in such a way where his little paws are ready to hold his tools. So you're accessorizing and you're changing the story. If he's got his shears, what type of plant is in front of him? If he's got his spade and fork, we've got the mud line for him to work with, which is one of your grounding devices, which I'll come to in a minute. You've got the little seed bag here. There's all the elements that tell that story, that create that narrative that you as artists provide on your cards. You've got your flourishing well. All the different plants that you might find in a greenhouse, that you might find around a garden, that you might find in stately homes, they're all here. Beautifully curated, aren't they, together to create just a stunning set. Think of the cards that you can make with these on their own. There are many collections from Carnation. In fact, the board I showed you before, which if I can just grab it, if you want to do a clean and simple card, take this piece, take an 8x8 and place that in different positions and just place some plants on it. Simple. Really beautiful, really effective. Use your apertures in your cards to put some plants behind them. You're creating all the time and you've got all the value and the choice in the world to work with these. You're hanging archway card shape where you have this center point that can be an aperture, okay? So you can cut this out, you can cut your aperture out, and then you can place something like this inside the aperture. Card done. Beautiful every time, those visual points, because that artwork is everything. Hand-drawn art. We move from there to your stunning set of gardening essentials. This has got your watering can, it's got your spade and your fork, it's got your planters, it's got your composter, your compost bags, and that grounding device that I was talking about just a moment ago, those important factors that we use. So normally with Carnation, in every collection, you will get a grounding device. It's just something that's needed. Too many companies don't provide it. Why does it matter? What does it matter if we have a grounding device or we don't that we can work with? Well, those, when we utilize them and we make sense of what's happening with the card, I can have a geese, obviously actually a goose, I can have a goose mid-air. But if he's tucked in and his feet are hidden, it makes no sense unless he's flying. So when you have a grounding device, it makes everything make sense. So always look for those elements when you're getting card collections. It's so important. It's about utilizing all of those pieces. That was your Botanical Bliss collection. It's absolutely stunning. 240901. Show price £99.99. Combined price £130.95. You're only going to get that discount until Friday night because obviously then Carnation have to put it back to its appropriate price. It's as such a gift to you guys for launch day or launch week. So you get it at these, you know, these discounts. There is a wee QR code at the bottom of the screen. You are more than welcome to just hover your camera on your phone over that. It'll produce a yellow box with a link. Go straight to that link and it will take you to this product on the brand new Carnation Crafts website, which is a corking website. Go and have a ferret, see what you can find. On the website, you'll find things like a calendar and stuff like that you can go and have a ferret around, see when we're coming live. There's also things like gift vouchers and stuff that you can get for friends, family, loved ones, or for yourself. Sometimes those things are a little something extra, aren't they? So go and have a ferret, see what you can buy. There's lots of collections. Remember, you get a opportunity on there to sign up to the Carnation newsletter. When you sign up to the Carnation newsletter, it will give you a voucher code every single month that offers you 10% discount on anything that's over 3 months old. So collections that are 3 months or older, use your discount code. Okay, so you can get 10% off site-wide, anything 3 months or older. not off new collections, obviously. We've then got your hanging archway card shape. This is flown. We're well over 75% of this gone, so there's not many opportunities left for this. Good luck to those of you who want to grab it. It's stunning. You've got your card base, you've got your mats, you've got this beautiful sun ray. We'll have a look at this today in demo. You've got this gorgeous piece here. Then you've got your nested inside to create layers or to create apertures, entirely your choice, of course. You've got your fence post, and you've got this little beauty. For those of you who haven't seen any of the shows yet, this is a mechanism that creates a stand that allows you to use it on the back of any card. I'm just going to turn this. And by that, that's exactly what I mean. Brilliant. Because it stabilizes all of your work. You've got that foundation point, there you go, on both sides of the card. That stabilization keeps the card held upright. It's much more secure and much more valuable to us than using another piece of card base and then having that, you know, standing in a tent shape, because we've got the stabilization. It's going to hold its own. When we're working with Carnation, we build. The whole point is to scene build. That's what makes these cards so evocative when we look at them, and so beautiful. And so when you've got that stabilization point, it gives you the extra support. So that's the first part of this, but we're going to give you more. Incredible pricing here. So we're going to go from that, and we're going to go to the extra pieces that sit within it as well, where you get those showstopper plants. And they're stunning. And they would adorn anything, wouldn't they? If you've got the In the Courtyard collection, these are perfect for it. There's so many ways to build. We treasure these pieces because they provide us with so much playroom. The stunning gates, the hinges, the little pieces that go on top of your post, all of these florals are integral to what we're doing. That's why Carnation win every time. Look at these, they are beautiful. And that is the hanging archway card shape. 240907 is your number today for that. That's got a show price of $49.99, $2.95 UK P&P. Again, you can use that QR code at the bottom, take you straight to it, or you can use the number, or you can type it in. All of your artwork, so Carnation have got something that is commonly known as a vignette. A vignette is actually a piece of artwork. So everything that you see that is coloured in when you're looking at the cards from Carnation, that's artwork provided to you for free. A little bit of history on that for those of you who don't know. Nick, who is sort of one of the owners of the company, he is he's the leader of the art world as far as Carnation Crafts is concerned. There are a team of artists that work with him. He's incredible, and so are the artists that work there, and they design these. They hand draw them, they're sketched in, then they're done digitally so that they produce the dies. But the difference between Carnation and everybody else, when that's hand drawn, because Nick's worked in the industry for years, he knows where the cut lines need to be that allow us to, you know, engineer, but they shape out, do all of these things. So they're done as the art is produced. If we're going to download something from a site and then try and add those cut lines, we can't know where it needs to shape and move. So that's why Carnation are unique. It's really important. It's a key element of what Carnation do. So if you're brand new to us, hey, hi, welcome. And for those of you who are coming back from a long time ago, hey, 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 hey. Let's get together. We'll demo in this box so you can see it. But I do just want to show you a few samples of what we're talking about before we get into it, because our diligent team, Ms. Pam Simpson here of DTs, look at that. They're so fancy with their bow tie. Really gorgeous, aren't they? Whimsical, beautiful, fancy, 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 but pretty. We've got, look at this, Lavinia here, creating. Enjoy your day with those gorgeous, gorgeous pieces. Look at the colours popping on that white. Get your nested dies out. That's your crystalline nested for anybody who wants to know. Pam Simpson coming in. I know Pam was with us in the earlier show. Beautiful, right? You see the grounding device at the bottom? It's important. They matter. That's why we have them. It's what sets Carnation aside every single time. Pam again coming in strong. those apertures. Okay, so we've got the different size geese. Why? Because it's important, because this wouldn't work with the bigger ones really. It's about utilising the tools that you've got at your fingertips, and that's why we are given the different opportunities and the different elements that we've got. The brackets that you would use for your hanging baskets here, designed as corners because we can change things round. They're beautiful as corners, and they just give you that sort of eye catch. You've got the composition here of your two diagonals coming through. Strong composition techniques. And again, can I just say, yeah, I love this. This is a real boon in your crafting pieces. Let's have a look at the box and how it's designed and how it's made. So as the same with yesterday, we did demonstrate this yesterday, but I think it's important for those of you just joining us today. Let's have a look at how it becomes what it is. When you cut it, you are given a piece of paper, a piece of cardstock like this, okay? Now it's going to have a score line here and a score line here. It's then going to have the same at these two sides. You then get a little sort of two chinks cut out in the top, two little nick marks there and at the bottom. Those are for you to score yourself. So you're going to make two score lines there, two score lines here, okay? And that's going to allow you to score it the way you need to do and fold it. Why aren't those two done for you? If those two are done for you, why aren't those? Well, because we would have had to have charged a double, because we'd have had to have a completely separate die. So they have been incredibly brilliant at making it so that it can all be in one with that gorgeous greenhouse. Again, forward thinking and thinking about the customer. It's so important. Cut it twice and score them both. Okay, so now I have these extra score lines here. I now need to cross it over, and I've got where my second score line is, where those little nicks are. I can line that up and I get a perfect square. Okay, it's absolutely bob on. My advice, take some red liner tape right to the edge, all the way around there. And then place that on top carefully and you'll get it aligned. Why red liner tape? Well, because it's the strongest thing that we've got. If we use anything else, you have the chance, if you don't stick these together, for instance, what's going to happen is on the back, you're going to have a flap. Okay, and you don't want that. You need it to be sealed, and that's why your red liner tape is going to come in. I'm going to do it with wet glue for demo because it's easier for me to show you what I'm doing and to not get it wrong while I'm on air, because obviously we are time constrained. Now, if you're using wet glue, and I don't advise it, I'd be more inclined to use a Pritt stick than I would wet glue, but for demonstration purposes, you need to be smearing this. Carnation's glue, let me just see if I've got... If I pull this, some of you have this at home, so I know you know. So the way Carnation's adhesive works, it's got a very low water content in it, which is incredibly important when we're crafting. Can you see at the top of this, there's a wee ball, yeah? That allows it to always keep sort of your nib clear. It means we can peel off any PVA that's sitting there. But it also, because I've then, when I peel that open, I've got this flat circle here. As the glue comes through, I can use it almost in the same way that I would use an adhesive spatula. So I can pull and smush right the way down. Now, you know I'm not a big proponent of lots of adhesive. I don't feel the need for it. I think it's excessive. If you have to use wet glue, one of the worst things you can do, in my opinion, is this. And we see it all the time. Don't do it. Because when you do that, you're causing liquid to go onto your card stock. Use your adhesive bottles. The ones we get from Carnation are designed for us to use with paper sculpture, which is what we're doing. It's designed to have that flat bottle top so that I can use it as a spatula. Grab hold of your everyday glue. Nothing with Carnation is done by chance. It's all done purposefully. God, this makes me feel really uncomfortable. Let me just cover that up because there's too much adhesive and it's making me feel weird. You don't need a lot of glue. Now, I'm going to have a really big problem area here. And the reason being is when I put this on top, I'll be able to see it. Now, you might not be able to. I will. do not exceed your adhesive levels. You don't need to. Use the tools provided that allow you to be the best at what you can do. And that means things like this, where that bottle is thought through. You get that spatula point. It's really important. Grab your everyday glue. We're going to lay this down so that and this is what happens. You see here, you see these marks? That's what happens when you're using too much adhesive. You cannot keep it clean. It's really important to get out of the habit. Right, let's turn this over. You see how that fits? Now, I've got two little corners. Can you see or not? There's a score line just there. If I shadow it with my hand, you can see it. And so that gives me the options. I can push that in to create a right angle, or I can leave it out. Now, I've got covers for my angled corners, so I'm not worried about it. I don't need to worry about covering those, but it might be that you don't want to use that extra support mechanism, and if you don't, then you can just tuck those in so it's perfect for those corners. Really, really pretty, but you don't need to because they've also thought through your support. So folding this over and tucking it down. Now, it's tempting to go one side, then the opposite. Bless you, Taz. But I tend to go round in a rotation. I find it easier. It just feels more productive to me. So I'm going to take this. So you see my corners? They're going to overlap now. So I can pull this in, push it to the edge, turn it, and then commit my sticking point. You see how I'm covering my working? Red liner tape, best friend at this point. Remove from this point, roll, tuck, commit. Now, if you get a looser edge, you see this is loosening here, don't worry about it because we've got support struts, okay? And those support struts are going to cover it. Important. One of the things I can say is when you work in rotation, you'll get this corner going over, then this one under. You know how when you fold a box and you do it so you get that sort of, it holds itself? That's what we're doing here. That's just going to give it a little bit more support. And then we're going to reiterate that support with the little mechanism. So taking this, roll, tuck, commit. Done. Perfect, right? And it's easy. Now, this is where your red liner tape really comes into it. Don't use wet glue like I'm using. I'm just doing this for demo. Red liner tape is going to be much stronger. Why? Well, because I want to hold these corners structurally. Now, this one obviously loose, these two not. That's fine. If I'm using red liner tape, I can actually take the red liner tape and I can run it from this edge just over this, and it's going to hold that right in place. And then I can put my corner strap on top, and that's going to keep it hidden, and it's going to keep it firmly placed. Okay, so important that you do it. Like I say, I'm in demo, so I'm not worried about it, but you guys, when you're at home, have got time to sit with your workings. When you've got too much adhesive here, I just tend to remove a bit. If you're allergic, be careful what you're doing. I know some people have an allergy to PVA, others don't. So I know that that corner is loose. The first commitment I'm going to make is here because I've got it pushed with my finger there, and I'm holding it there and there. That's the sticking point I'm worried about. Then I hold it here. Once I've got that commitment point down, it should theoretically hold. Certainly when you're using it with red liner tape, it's going to hold like a dream. And you will repeat that on all four corners. So it's all held and your mechanisms are working perfectly. Everything's structured for a stronger item. Pin, push, hold, and then commit. Ooh. My glue's all excited, look, because I let it loose, Taz. Let's get this corner on. Push, hold, pin, commit. I'm not happy with that. The less adhesive you use as well, the quicker it dries. The quicker it dries, the quicker it's held in place. Okay, so we've got the edges done now. So in true Blue Peter style, I've got 2 of my boxes or my frames made. At this point you've got options, of course. Do you want to make a box? Do you want to make a card? Do you want to make this into something completely different? Do you want to add some little handles, so you're creating a tray, for instance, that you can put some little bits on for somebody, maybe some sweets, that sort of thing. There's different ways of using it in different sort of occasions, 4 different occasions. We're going to obviously make it into the box that it is, you know, purposed for in that way, but there's some super ideas that you can do with this, really beautiful little ideas that you can do. Now your hinge mechanism is designed to go on the outside. It could theoretically go on the inside as well. You can have it here. It's designed for the outside, but you could theoretically get away with that if you wanted to. I'm going to turn mine over. Use yours on a clean surface. Always make sure your surfaces are clean, unlike mine at this point. Now, that's my score line. It's already in there. The first thing I do to make sure I've got it correct is do it that way and then pull it back on itself once I've just broken those fibres, okay? I don't want to be pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling because it's going to break the fibres too much. So just let it drop forward and then pull it back, and then you don't have to keep reiterating that process. So where you can see it, pop your finger under, push, and then pull it back on itself. And that just allows you that firm sort of piecing. Now I'm going to do this one with 3 because I did one yesterday with 2. I just want to show you, you know, the same thing but with 3. So finger out, push, pull back. That means you know where you're going. It just gives you a bit of extra safety. Now, take your box. Again, use red liner tape, it's easier. So you've got this exactly aligned, and that way you know you're working perfectly. So once you've got those, you're going to need to put some adhesive on here. Like I say, red liner is going to be your best bet, but I'll use some wet glue. And I will say with this, again, like I said yesterday, I'd rather use Pritt Stick than use a PVA when I'm working in construction. Not actually in construction, but you know what I mean. Sounds like I needed a hard hat. Right. I have got my joining point. I'm going to stick the hinge in on the side where I put the glue, and I'm just going to stick it there and then pull that down so that I know the hinge mechanism is right in the center. Okay? Commit it all the way down. Then keep that held back. Keep your boxes just as they are. Come in. Smoosh it. If you feel easier using an adhesive spatula, absolutely go ahead. That's great for smooshing. By that I mean, for those of you who don't know, you will have used them when you were at school, in primary school. They're like little plastic, it's like a spade looking thing at the end, and you use them for glue and paint. Can you remember them? That's an adhesive spatula, and they're incredibly useful. Oh. Now, once I've got my sticking point there and I've leveled it, it's a problem with wet glue, you see, it will not always be your best friend. I'm going to place this in here. And just place out. Then do the same. So I've got that leveled. Now I can't guarantee a hold on that at the minute because obviously it's a construction piece. red liner tape, red liner, but it is going to hold its own. So I'm going to put in a third hinge. Why would I go to that bother if I don't need to? I've got two. Why would I go? Well, this is where if I was sending it abroad, I would most definitely want an extra support in the middle of it. It's just going to strengthen it. It's going to give it that extra support going through, and it's not necessary, but for me, the more strength it's got, the easier I'll find it. So smoosh it out, get it to your midpoint, and make sure you're aligned roughly in the center there. You can obviously measure out if you want it to be precise. Certainly if this is going to be something that you use for wedding invitations for a customer or something along those lines, you want to make sure it's precise. Push down and committed. So that's got all 3 points now committed in. If I leave that to dry solidly now, which I would under normal circumstances, I would place that to one side and leave it alone. That then would be solidly done in about 10 minutes. If I was using red liner tape, I wouldn't need to wait. So it's depending on what you do. I just don't advise the way I did it. And it's right now, can you see while you've got the screen there? Thanks, Taz. She's got hands in the air. Can you see here? There's a problem. You see it or not? I wonder if I hold it.
No, leave it. Put it down.
Woo! You can. There you go. Right. Can you see it? I've got problem areas. No, that's fine.
There you go.
I've got problems. More so than you would ever know. There's bubbles almost forming. It's where I use too much glue. This is a big mistake that we make. Please, please, please do not exceed your wet glue. That's what I talk about. This is why we don't use a lot of adhesive. Glue is sticky. You do not need it. So I'm glad that happened so I could show you it, because I know I talk about it all the time. You don't want that visual. It's a perfect box. The less adhesive you use. And that's the same with your cards. When we're using too much wet glue, I'll stop lecturing but it's the bane of my life. Sorry, Taz. You know I get onto a thing with it. She's just sat looking at me. Right, one of the other elements that you're going to get is this. And it's got a score line going here and a score line going there. And this is your buckle. So you can choose to fold it and fold it. Now, the DT team have used this laid flat as a rule, like so. And that's how I showed you how to do it yesterday. I also love it. I will always use my pokey here, just on that flat band on the inside. Just break those fibres a little bit so that I've got a little bit of an archway for my buckle. But one of the ways that we didn't use yesterday, so I'll show you it today. And again, you really do need red liner for this because you need it to lay absolutely flat. But pop some of this on, little bits, smoosh and smoosh, lay it flat, just like so, with that little arch that you've created with your pokey, just so that it's got a little bit of breathing room. You'll see it rising up and you'll get the shadow. That needs to commit down. And then we've got your belt. So you've got your buckle and your belt, and your belt is designed with these little fingernail cutouts from it, and that's so that I can choose how wide my box is, and I can use this as a stopping mechanism so that when it seats through, let me just poke this one out a little bit. When it seats through, she says, there we go, it will poke through and it'll commit. Now obviously you're going to need to use your pokey and just give it a little shove, and then it commits in and it's locked. Okay, super cute and super sweet. Obviously when we're using it this way, you get the shorter buckle, but if you're using it the long side, you'll get a longer one. It depends what you're doing and how you're wanting to do it. And then I've got this piece here. Now it's really important that I don't pull this taut and glue it there, because I need some give here, otherwise that's going nowhere, is it? I can't pull it back to release the mechanism. So I'm going to use a pokey. If you use a pokey, like you can see where it's creased there, it's not the prettiest. So if I use a pokey and I roll it slightly, it'll break those fibres. It'll look a little neater. And then I can put some adhesive just at the back. Allow a little loop to form just here. and obviously that commits down. Now it's going to take a while for my wet glue to fully dry, so I can't trust these mechanisms until the moisture has been released from the glue. Once that water has evaporated, I'll get a full sticking point. So once that's done, I'll know it's safe and secure. However, I won't have to wait too long, but the box is working. And now it's ready for decoration. There is a clear, distinct difference between that one and this one. That's straight, it's flat, it's smooth. That is buckled. It's poofy. I can see it. You might not be able. Can you see it, Taz? There's marks. Don't use too much glue. Have I lectured enough this morning, Miss Taz?
Oh, I'll keep getting it after we come off air.
I know you will still. I will still continue to talk about adhesive and my dislike of excess glue. It drives me insane. Right, that is how to make your box. Now, this morning we showed you some ways of using that beautiful greenhouse shape. We also gave you full demos yesterday. Please do head to the Carnation Crafts TV YouTube channel. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and also press the notification bell so you can receive notifications of when we're going live. We don't go live in the middle of the night, so you're not going to get anything nefarious at midnight, and nor will I somehow appear in your bedroom at midnight. If you're looking on your phone, you'll be pleased to know. So you're going to be able to go straight onto YouTube. Nobody would want it. I'm just saying. We won't appear on your phone in your bedroom.
No, but you didn't word it like that, did you?
I mean, it was the same. You can hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live and you're not going to miss anything. So please do that. And you'll be able to watch yesterday's shows is where I was going until I was rudely interrupted. Where I was going, you can watch yesterday's shows, which shows you how to construct the greenhouse in that way as well. Yes, Miss Towers.
Anyway, we've had some lovely customers messaging us.
Ooh, have you got it? Have you got it? Have you got it?
So, Linda Poland's received hers, Sheila Gent's received hers, yes. And then over on Facebook, Sheila Parry has also received hers.
We like it.
And we've also had Trina saying hello, Linda McLeod saying hello, Pam Simpson says she's still here because it's launch time.
We love you.
Suzanne Page is saying hello. Everybody's saying hello.
Hello, hello, hello. It's wonderful to have you here. I hope that box construction helped. And obviously, as we were saying yesterday, you can watch any videos back on YouTube by, if you hit this, turn it onto mute because the voices go real weird. But if you press, there's like a little gear icon. And if you press that, it says playback speed. If you press that, it gives you options. You can fast forward it or you can play it very slow. And whenever you're watching something that's a tutorial, it's always good practice to sort of watch it in a slower motion so you can see exactly what's happening. It goes a little bit more at your speed. So when you're doing it yourself, you can keep up with it and it will sort of works that way. So that's just, well, that's what I do when I'm watching tutorials. It just allows me to keep on top. Right. The main collection, 240901 Botanical Bliss. You'll find this on the Carnation website. Taz is literally sat there with her head in her hands, just shaking her head like, oh. £99.99 free UK P&P. This is going to go back to £114.99, and that will happen on Friday, so you don't have long. Free UK P&P, as we said, and you can grab hold of this today. Now, this is the last time we're going to go live with this on Carnation TV. Why is that significant? We will go live with it on Hobbymaker on Friday, and we'll have 2 shows on Hobbymaker, which is wonderful. However, the one thing Hobbymaker can't offer you, and we can, is free UK P&P. One thing you ain't getting on Hobbymaker, but you do get it here. Thank you very much. So, yeah, it's probably better to get it here, right? So £99.99 for UK P&P. If you want to get the upsell, so the additional card shape, which is your hanging archway card shape, please do head over to www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. You can type in the number 240907. That's your hanging archway card shape. $49.99, $2.95 UK P&P because it is below the £50 threshold. That being said, if you do incorporate that in and buy it with the collection, you will get free UK P&P. Or if you add in the perfect papers are also available to you as well today. Beautiful collection for the perfect papers this time. Really gorgeous, soft colours. And you've got, they're spring tones, aren't they? They're very, very pretty. 240908, show price of $14.99, $2.95 UK P&P. If you are shopping with us today as an international customer, your shipping and handling will change. That's $4.95 for the whole collection to be sent to you. Or if you want to add in your perfect papers, that's going to be $14.95, and that's in UK pounds. You'll find that on the Carnation Crafts website as well, but we do ship out internationally. For those of you in the States who have already ordered, you will know that. Are you asking a question, Taz?
No, I was saying whoop whoop.
Well, they can't see you doing the whoop whoop. She was doing this in the background, but she's on a side to me, so I could just see one hand doing this. I thought she was asking something. She's a very odd character. Right. Let's play. So let's have a look at our Archway card shape. Now I'm going to use the stands for this card shape, but I did want to show you your alternatives and why the stand is so important. If I'm creating a card base and I'm using the two pieces together, because I don't know what's going to be going on here to start off with, or if I'm using foam tape like I like to, it's going to be a bit heavier. I've scored it here at 1/2 inch. If I'm using something where it's elongated, such as a DL shape, and although this is an archway, it is that DL shape, I'd want my score line to just be a little bit lower, so do keep an eye on that just to make sure that it doesn't waff over. Somebody asked in the previous show what cardstock we were using for card bases, maybe for the box, those kind of things. 350 GSM smooth cardstock. 350 GSM is strong, it's really good for construction, and it means that everything stays together, and it's not, how do I phrase it? My brain wants to say something that I'm not allowed to say. It's not kind of cheap looking. It's heavy, it's meant, and it's beautiful, and it's great to stamp on as well, and you'll find that on the Carnation Crafts website. I'm not going to use this piece because I am going to be using the stands, but I did just want to outline to you that obviously you want a lower point if you're using a DL shape and you're going to put lots of weight on it. From there, I'm going to bring in my beautiful perfect papers, really pretty spring crisp green. I'm going on a 3mm foam base here to raise some height. Tabs created by pulling this down halfway, and then I can slip and slide until I get exactly where I want to be. Place down, push, pull, and you've got your commitment. Now, this. Look at that. That's perfection. That's so pretty and so stunning. Now, if I want to raise this on some foam tape, you will be able to do so to get your shadow play. Really, really pretty, and your shadows are going to sit there absolutely gorgeous. It'll change the way the card looks. I don't want to for this particular card, but it is an option for me. Let's go in with some wet glue. Just placed in. Pull this back. I'm going to take an applicator for this. Now, for this, I'm going to put some in some strategic points. I don't need it all over, but what I do want to do is ensure, hold on, my brain can only fire on so many cylinders, as I think you're all aware. If I just get this here so I know. Right, I am going to place this down. I want to make sure I've got a little bit of adhesive on here. I've got to be very careful. If there's too much, it's going to smoosh onto my perfect papers. Applicators are going to be key in this. You don't have to, but it'll stop me getting a shadow that I don't want from it. I don't always want shadows. So tiny amounts. It'll just give me a tiny little sticking point. And it just means I've prevented too much shadow play happening where I don't want it. Remember your main points of adhesive, so I can commit by smooshing. And then I know I had those in those central spots, and I can just pin those down, and that stops everything from being too raised. Shadow play is really great. The thing is with this, you're going to get the shadows anyway because it's a slight raise on it, so you get that beautiful tone. But I love the idea of it because they span out the way they do, the idea of it as if you're walking into a scene. It's really pretty to me, or the idea of it being sunshine. Really gorgeous, isn't it? Now I've got the extra archway. I was talking about this in the previous. This makes such a difference. That's beautiful. But then let's add in that soft, very soft addition, and suddenly it's just beautiful, isn't it? Really pretty. So let's take that and run with it. Just small amounts. I'm not too worried about this one. So long as I've got my midpoints and my bottom areas just done, and then just into that archway at the top of the arch. Now I can commit that down. How stunning is that card base? It's so pretty, isn't it? It almost has a look of the old jukebox, you know, that kind of, it's really pretty. The televisions of old as well, can you remember? Really beautiful. I know you won't remember, Taz, but some of us do. So what I've got here, picking up my elements, just making sure I've got them all. I've got my fence post here, and I'm probably going to place it there, but I may place it a little bit higher. And already, because we've got that artwork, we're already building in a scene, aren't we? I've got my stakes just to place in, and I'm going to add a little bit of height by doubling them. And just tucking that in and hiding the working. It's got a really nice hiding point on these where you don't see really the connection. Okay, so you get this full visual. Now if that gets a little bit too busy, and it may, you can remove the post, place this on the edge first, and decide composition wise whether you want it cleaner or whether you want to bring in more. You can also bring these in to your midline, and it changes it. We're constantly looking for the change. Bring it through to the round, the pill shape, and it changes again. So you're constantly looking for your flow point. Where is it giving you the most, and how is it giving you the most? If I use one and I place it in the center, I have already a different card, don't I? So it's always about your play and your composition. Get a feel for how your style is, how you like things to look visually, and where your important key points are going to be. It's going to give you a really nice way of playing. So I'm going to seat this down here, flow line up, and I'm not committing to the top point because I want to hide this one underneath. So before the adhesive dries on that, remember you've usually got about 40 seconds. Find my hiding points, which is that leaf and that leaf, which allows you to double up. And create that long line stem. Now I can add more adhesive and commit the top. Okay, so we've got this really pretty center point. Now, a sentiment on that, you've got something pretty. Never feel intimidated. You get an awful lot with Carnation, which is magical. If you're sitting with all of that in front of you, you might feel a little bit of a point of, I don't know where I'm going with this, and that's fine. Sometimes just start with those key points, and you'll work your way around how much you want to put onto the card for yourself. It's very daunting when you're first starting out card making because it feels like everybody knows what they're doing, and that's not always true. I'm going to take my compost bags and I'm just going to separate down. so that I've got almost that step formation, and then I'm going to fill that with some silicone gel glue to get my shadows. And I'm going to bring this to the bottom of my sort of pill line so that my sunbursts are now coming from the compost bag. So now I've directed the visual straight into the main pill shape, okay? Because I've taken away that bottom curve and I've grounded it. That's your grounding devices. That's why they are so key to what you do. Bringing in my beautiful pepper tree, which I still want to call a lemon tree. I love the yellow, the colour yellow. It really pleases me. Now, I've got my line here and I've got my diagonal. It's already working for me, but to reiterate that point, I'm just going to add a small plant at the bottom. I'm going to cover a lot of this anyway, so I'm not too worried, but it gives it just that little pleasing point. I'm going to tuck that down quite low to the little compost bags. You see how we create that scene? We build height and definition. This one is almost a background element, whereas these ones now are key. They're pivotal, they're sitting forward. I'm going to bring in my wheelbarrow, and I want to make sure that I'm following on from that diagonal so that my composition is still working in that same angle. So I'm going to use some silicone gel glue, raise it, let it sit and let it breathe so that it's just seated forward. Let me play that round. So I've got my grounding. Okay, so we're still sticking with that line. We're still telling the story. We're still going in because these sunbeams are pointing me in that direction. Super easy that we've got those pieces, isn't it? It makes life a lot easier as far as composition is concerned. It becomes much more of a smooth process. I'm just going to tuck that. I don't want it too far in. I still want to see it, but it's just an extra little cue. So it might not be the first thing that you see. If you want to elongate this side to match up with that, if you want a higher composition level, you can pop your post in just around this level. That will raise it up. It will give it the idea that you've got a construction behind your pepper, so you've got a different element coming through, and that's really sweet as well. It adds a little bit of impact to the card, adds some height and some definition, and it gives it a change. So you can see my diagonal changes, then I add that in, my composition changes completely. So it's talking about how height and how you comp it. And working towards the edge of that pill shape. And finally, here he is. Mirrored vignettes, double for my money, because do I want him facing this way? So if we're looking at composition value, do I want him facing this way so I can add him into my comp that way? Do I want to turn him over and have him at the edge here? Now, to me, it makes sense to have him at this side because my composition works in that way, and I'm keeping my white space so that visually I've got a clearance. So that means I need to shape him on the reverse side. So I'm going to take my ball tool, shape out his head and his little wings. He's so pretty. Shape out his neck and just use that ball tool on his tummy. Pull just forward and then fill with a silicone gel glue on his head. So he's got his little body just seated. Now you can pull him right down to the bottom. So we talked about perspective earlier, and this is another play on that. If I put him here, he's part of the main scene. If I bring him down here, he's ahead of the scene, he's in front of the scene, and it's a composition value, it's perspective, isn't it? So if I bring him down here, he's showing you what's behind because these lines are guiding you in. Okay, so you get that play on perspective. Now I'm just going to very quickly do the stands, stick them on the back. Oh, we've nearly, the words went, Taz. Nearly 75% of the collection has gone. Oof, there was a lot of words there. 240901 if you want to get ahead of the game. Please do shop ahead. Grab it in your basket. There's not going to last, obviously, so you need to get ahead of everybody else. And I'm just going to create my stands. We do have full demos on this on YouTube from yesterday. You need one facing either way. That means when you cut it, you'll have a very clear, hold on, let me show you what I'm talking about. On this side of it, I've got very clear lines where those score lines are. On the back, it's more faded. So you want to fold one with those lines forward and one with those lines forward. That will give you a left and a right. And now I've got to remember which one I just did. I need it to face that way so that I've got one on either side, she says. I've got red liner tape on both sides of mine. That's so that if I make a mistake on air and roll it the wrong way, I can still use it either side. I just need to make sure that I've got one on each. Yeah, that seems about right to me. We'll soon find out. The great thing is your red liner tape gets hidden. So if you want to do the same as me and you put your red liner tape on both sides, it doesn't matter whether you get it right or wrong. Let's take this off. Place it at the bottom. Stand your square tube. You've got a flat edge. Stand it down. Place your card. Right, edge to edge. And commit. Same thing on the other side. Stand your tube down. Bring your card to it. Edge to edge, commit, angled card base. Really clever. So there's your little angled card base sitting there, and there he is. Oh, she says. Whew, Taz, I made my armpits prickle. Look at that. Just beyond cute. Just make sure that's committed through. Really sweet, right? That hanging archway card shape is unbelievably gorgeous. It's so pretty. It's also incredibly clever as far as perspective is concerned. It's done for you. That visual cue, that change of perspective. That is available to you, but there's not many left. 240907. Go and see if you can chance your luck on the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. $49.99 show price for you today, and that will be a $2.95 UK P&P because it's under the £50 threshold. If you want to add it in with the main collection, it will be free. Last time we say it today, your Botanical Bliss collection, 240901, $99.99 because it's launch week. At the end of launch week on Friday night, this will go back up to £114.99. So if you want to save yourself 15 quid, now's the time to do it. Free UK P&P because we're over the £50 threshold. Today is your day. That's when you get it done and get it sorted. I hope your tutorials have been useful for you today to help you go forward with the card making. I'm so excited for those of you who've already got it in your paw. For those of you who are still waiting, I'm sorry that you're having to play the patience game. That just is rubbish, as we all know. I'll be with you on Hobby Maker on Friday. I'm not sure of the hours that I've got for that yet, but I will. It'll be on their television guide. But we will have 2 shows for you of Botanical Bliss, so you'll have more demonstration time. You'll get to see it working in different ways. What did you say? 1 and 5, Taz. Thank you. 1 and 5 on Friday at Hobby Maker. You'll get to see it working in different ways. That will be your last chance to purchase it at launch price. But again, we don't have the same P&P because if you buy it from us, you've got free P&P. If you buy it from them, you're going to have to pay the $4.95 for their daily one. It depends how you want to pay for it, really. I suppose that's the difference. It has been an absolute joy to be with you for the last 2 days. I hope you're all really, really well, and I hope you carry on being really well. I'll see you on Friday.